I found a different image that unfortunately just rotated. It gives a lot more clear picture on the structure here. And so you can see our color ties are significantly lower. And then these are literally just attached with some fasteners here. So this is more of a load than it is a support at this point, because it's being supported by these diagonals. We've got all these members up here that allow us, with the wooden ones, to put them in place. And then if I zoom way in here, it's kind of hard to see, but this is a custom joist with no top member, and so it acts like a knife almost to split the wood, which is how it gets doubled. Again, we're going to simplify, and we're just going to leave this as a regular W flange. So that just gives you a bit of a sense. So let me come back into Revit, and I want to move my collar tie level that I made, thinking it was going to be right underneath this, down. And I don't know where. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I just know it's somewhere in between. Yep, so that is going to move away. And I think it's actually even closer. So I'm going to move it more before it ends up automatically deleting again. Probably going to bring it somewhere around here. All right. Let me add it back into my project, going into View, Plan Views. And now they're only going to exist, fine, they're only going to exist at our grids. There's no collar ties for any of the wooden members, just the steel ones. So I'm going to come into Structure, Beam, and I'm going to go back to the 12 by 16. And I'm not 100% sure where it's going to sit. So I'm just going to draw the whole length for now. Now if I come back to East, where did it go? Here we are. And that's a little close to the beam. It's up to you if you want to flip the orientation from top to bottom so it's higher up. I'm going to do that. Like I said, we don't really know for sure based on the images we have, but looking at that picture, it's somewhere in between. And now copy it, mirror it over here. You're going to need to do some reference lines that follow this diagonal, because unfortunately, just like over here, the coping is not going to cooperate. So I'll just show it again quickly. I'm not going to do the whole process, but I would follow, making sure I'm at this lowest point. I don't know what number I'm on. I'm just going to give it a 5. I would do the same thing on this side. And then once they're all done, I would come into Modify, Cut. I would say this is what I'm cutting and this is what I'm cutting with. And you can see it crops it. So next thing I want to do is deal with our purlins, but you have two options. And what we did last year was we drew these as component model in place, did an array, mirrored them, but when it came to the skylights, it kind of was a pain because you can't split component model in place like you can a beam. So you ended up with this 160-foot long model using shape handles to make sure you had an opening for the skylight. So I'm going to do it a little differently. These are roughly 4x6s, so 3.5 by 5.5. And then I'm going to come into architecture, roof, let me see. Let me say roof by extrusion so that we can stay on this view. And I've got my non-ventilated roof here, but I want to edit this. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm just going to call it Parrish roof. I'm going to come in here. And I am going to get rid of two of our items here. So I got rid of the insulation and one level of EPDM. And I'm going to go ahead and switch this zinc to 1/4 inch just so it's easy math. Alright, so now we have 1.5 inches here. And then we have 5.5 inches for the purlins. Apply. Okay, so that means we need 7 inches from the top of our beam. Because anytime you do roof by extrusion, it goes down, unlike most of the time where you're doing roof by footprint where it builds up. So I'm going to go to pick line. I'm going to do an offset of 7 inches. Alright, so I've got that. And now, rather than try and monkey around and make sure everything lines up, I'm going to drag this up to my midpoint. I'm going to say mirror pick axis. It doesn't think I have anything selected, so I'm going to reselect it. Mirror pick axis. Alright, now I've got that. And now I can mirror that using my midpoint here. It should come right to my peak, and it does. And again, mirror. Alright. Now, clearly, this is not going to work out. We have to clean this up. So I'm going to say trim. And it should line up with, yes, and it does, with our midpoint and our reference plane. So I've got this, it's 7 inches above. I've got my 1.5 inch roof. I'm going to click OK once. And now I'm going to come into my 3D top view and just see what we're looking at. And it's pretty close. We do want to extend all the way here to the edge. And we'll have to copy some of these wood beams onto the other side. You kind of have to do the math. I'm assuming we'll need probably 2. I'll drag this here. And now we're good with that. Alright. We want to do purlins along here. Why is that? Oh, that's the one I have not used a trim on yet. So it's like, what did I do wrong? Nothing other than did not trim my collar tie. So I want to do beam system, but we don't currently have anything that's a 4x6 in here. So I'm going to first come into structure, beam. I'm going to try and there we go. And now I'm going to click edit type. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm just going to call it 4x6. And I'm going to change this to 3.5. And this will become 5.5. Click apply. Okay. Now I'm just going to draw one just so that it actually saves it. I'll delete it later. I just don't want Revit to get confused and not save this as a beam. So now we can create our beam system along this whole edge. So I'm going to come in here, say beam system, set the work plane. I'm going to say pick a plane. And I'm just going to grab this face. I'm going to make a rectangle. I'm going to start at the ridge. Bring it down here. Alright, which way is my beam system going? Yeah, it's going the correct direction, so the purlins run the whole length, which is why I said if you do a component model in place and then you add some skylights roughly in the middle, then you're using shape handles back and forth, versus this way we can just split the element and drag it where we want it. So I'm gonna try a fixed number. I'm gonna come to the east, and I'm gonna make that fixed number. So if this is the start of it, where it's just showing us, I'm gonna start at 18 and see how close that looks to the picture. We're not going to match it perfectly. Click OK. And now you can see they're, not perfect, but they're close to the same spacing at 18. So while it's still a beam system, I'm going to click Move. And the first thing I'm going to do is just move it closer to this first position. And then I'm going to click Move again, because right now it's on the top of our roof. And I just want to come straight down. So now it's hosted at the bottom. It runs in between our steel beam and our wood beams up to our roof. And it's up to you if you want to copy one more up here using the spacing. That gets us pretty close to the ridge where we already have a lot going on, so I'm hesitant to do that. But I can mirror this because this one's roughly where I want it. So I'm going to say mirror pick axis, and I'm going to start with the midpoint here. So now I've got one here, and now I'm going to mirror pick axis again. And now this is the active one, so I have to pick here. Now this is our active one, so I'm going to mirror one more time and use our midpoint. And so now we got these extra bits. The easiest thing to do at this point is remove beam system. And now these are individual elements. We have to do it to all four we just made. So make sure you're grabbing the whole system. And now I can just come in, hold control, grab any of the ones that I think don't need to be here, and delete them. Let's take a look from here. Alright, we're doing fine. I got to clean that up. If I add some transparency or click on my roof, we can see we've got our main rafters, and then we've got our purlins that go in the opposite direction. All right, so the videos from last year pretty much will stay the same. Obviously, you'll skip the roof part since we just did it here, since we didn't use component model in place. But theoretically, you should be able to complete this project based on some of the stuff from last year that's already posted and where we're at now. You may notice some unfortunate gap here between these, and that's fixable, not a problem. So I ended up moving my beam level up to where it touched. If you remember that picture we showed, there are some built-in kind of connections here, little vertical bits that would come up and cover this that are not going to show up. So I've already moved this one up to come to this new level, and I'll show you how I did that. So I hid my picture, so I didn't actually grab my section. And now I'm going to pick all these. It's not going to let me because it's multiple categories, so I'm going to have to start here. And I'm going to just change it so that it comes up to beam with 0 offset. Click apply. And now for these, I'm going to come and make sure I do a left to right and make sure it's the only thing fully inside of it. So now you can see it went really wonky. It said footings, so we're going to say beam, and again 0 and 0. Oh. And now those are fixed. So if you have your gaps, that's how you fix them.